soy products altogether, right? I'm gonna get rid of those. And it depends at this point as you're moving in your journey who you listen to. Because if you go vegan, now they're gonna tell you, oh, meat's bad. Don't you have any meat? None of that meat stuff. All right, well now, beef, grass-fed, right? All that's off the table, right? Poultry's off the table. But what if you go another route? What if you learn about some of the chemistry, like carbohydrates? Maybe you learn about, like, you want to keep all grains out, grains and nightshades. That's a popular one. All of a sudden, all right, no potatoes for me. Nightshades make my stomach upset, right? So I'm gonna take out nightshades. I don't want no oatmeal, right? Ooh, I heard about sugary veggies. I don't want any of that sugar stuff. Sugar's bad, right? All right, sugar's bad. Get rid of those carrots. Carrots got a little more sugar than other ones, or carrots or peas, right? And I'm only gonna eat things now that are grass-fed, non-GMO, and I'm getting rid of all processed foods, right? Okay? Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna stop you here in the middle of this person's journey, okay? At this point, this person is chasing health, okay? But what they've started to do is they've just now eliminated half the world's food supply that carries minerals, nutrients, vitamins, not to mention is in a lot of different foods that make sure that you're eating a brevity of different foods for your, just hey, make sure when I go out I have something. Make sure that, that I'm behaving a bit normally. I'm not sectioning myself off too much. At this part in the journey is when we start to get a bit obsessive and a bit compulsive. This is where the holistic health community has not done anybody any services. Because you got a lot of people out there spouting a lot of opinions about stuff that they don't know anything about long term. That's why long term matters. Okay? This is why if you got a keto guy, intermittent fasting guy, if you've got anybody along those range that are telling you to cut these things out of your life, okay? Are they really thinking about you for your whole life? Did that come into account at all inside their process and their thinking? Because what a lot of us do, we never do anything temporarily. We can't ever do anything for a season. It's either yes or no, zeros and ones, good or bad. And right now, this individual thinks all these foods are bad. So they take them all the way out of their diet. When this happens, now your base of foods you have left over are very small. And you find yourself getting backed into a corner with what you can have and what you can't have. And when you start restricting, that creates sensitivity. Other things cause sensitivity too, because when you start removing foods, one of the things that goes up is artificial sweeteners. Chemical-based products sometimes start to go up when you don't have food brevity and you're trying to stay away from sugar. That usually makes gut issues worse. They've talked a lot about the research that's coming out in microbiome and artificial sweeteners, right? I could have put stevia in these things on the board. But then you have your gut's kind of bothering you. So you learn if you eat anything with a lot of fiber, it causes upset. So I'm not going to eat any beans. I don't want any beans. And you know what? When I eat food at night that has any sodium, I puff up in the morning. I'm not going to have any sodium. So you see what starts to happen. This individual now is in this really bad place. They've backed themselves into a corner. Okay? And now some people will try to institute some things back in, but the reality is every one of these foods, including beer and candy, has something redeemable about it. And when you restrict things and don't eat them for really long periods of time, when you try to reintroduce them, they're going to create side effect at first. So you're going to be convinced that you can't have these things. Okay? This pattern of behavior starts creating side effects. This is the bad part. So all the good things you were chasing start to get outweighed by the bad things that start happening in your life. You start getting really obsessed and compulsed about every little thing you put in your body. Now understand me, I'm going to stop here. There's nothing wrong with choosing to eat a certain way, as long as you understand and are aware of yourself, not to go down this road, but also that anything in life should be cyclical. We have a very hard time in America switching gears. If I'm going to remove most of the carb family, that's fine. I'm going to remove it for a season. That's why in Nutrition Dynamic, we talk about seasons. I'm going to have a season of restriction. I'm going to have a season of grind. But that season must change. I must open myself back up to these foods. I must not let myself keep cutting foods away. Okay? Because there's no one bad food on the earth. You know, there isn't. So, this obsession and anxiety starts to grow in all of us, believe it or not. A lot of people, because they can't eat anything out in public, they can't relate with most people, they start getting isolated. I'd just rather eat at home so I can just have my chicken and my vegetables, right? The biggest thing that it does, this problem, this starts to hurt you. This ain't helping you. You're getting nutrient deficient. All these things carry vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients that you no longer have. One of the big ones, the research is starting to show all the time, the more that you restrict something for a long time, the more likely you are going to be sensitive to it when you introduce it. So you have to start reintroducing things slowly, but most of us don't do that. We either don't eat any of it or we eat 1,000,000 pounds of it. Okay? So this behavior starts creating not just orthorexia, but bulimia, anorexia, right? So now, when you start restricting all of this, you go to like, one day you have an emotional breakdown and you eat all of it in one day. You know, the immune system going from 0 to 100 like that, that's going to create more sensitivities. But the biggest trick is, all this behavior always leads to under-eating. You're starving yourself on accident because you think you're doing the next right thing and you're listening to everybody and you're filling your head with all this stuff. You're getting confused. You start believing things that are good for the short term, but not wise for the long term. And now, because of your lack of options, you're way under eating all the time. You're stressed out, you're obsessive compulsive, and you're under eating. All of this, the most important part is this individual on the journey to health, because of the nutrient deficiency, obsession, the other gut issues that it caused, this leads to disease. This leads to dysglycemia, prediabetes, diabetes. It leads to autoimmune conditions. It leads to injuring yourself. It leads to starvation in the body, eating muscle, slowing thyroid function, reducing hormones, all these things. And all because you wanted to try to get healthier. So now, again, I need to be very clear. Dieting structures are there to give you structure, but they should also make you aware that any structure should be seasonal. And that while, yes, if you're dealing with an autoimmune condition or you have a disease state and you're trying to deal with it, or you're in a prep competition or something like that, yes, removing a lot of these things would be a good idea at the right time for the right amount of time. It is never okay to pull a food off the docket by and large and just never eat it again. That's a recipe for disaster. So what we need to do, as every individual who watches this video, is I want you to reflect on your preconceived notions about what you think is good and not good, what's sacrilege and what's okay. You know what I mean? And think about, am I maybe doing something where I should start maybe reintroducing a little bit of food? Or I should review my idea of what is healthy. But I can tell you one thing, in the pursuit of all this chaos, the one thing this individual is not is the one thing they set out to be, which is healthy. I hope this video touches somebody's heart. A lot of you are doing this in a lot of different ways. Share this video. Be educated. Parents, when a child diets for the first time, it is imperative that you get in their head with wisdom over time and not logic of the day. Because if it's only logic of the day, they're going to do what everybody else does, and it sets the stage for all this behavior.